You're listening to the Minutes on Growth podcast, the show that brings you mindfully curated insights into relationships, spirituality, personal development, and everything in between, with your host, Tannaz Hosseinpour. Hi, everyone. It's Tannaz Hosseinpour, and welcome to another episode of Minutes on Growth. Today, I have the lovely Jessica Procini with us, founder of Escape from Emotional Eating. Welcome.
Thank you. So happy to be here.
I'm so happy that we're doing this again because we recorded it once and it didn't turn out perfect, but I'm confident that there's probably a reason that we're doing this again. Something new might come out of it. So I'm really excited for it.
Me too.
So let's dive right in. First of all, it's a new year. So tell me, what is your word for 2021? What do you want from this year?
You know, this new year has been very different just because of 2020. Normally, I do a lot of planning and, visioning and pulling cards and setting intentions. And this year, it's not necessarily a word as it is a phrase, but just one day at a time. And I feel like that just gives me permission for every day to look different, to really roll with whatever comes through, and to really just take it one day at a time.
I love that, one day at a time. And I think it's so much easier actually to live life with that motto. Like when I was doing the Reiki certification process, like this was one of our things where like every morning we would say, just for today, I'm going to do this. Just for today, I'm going to be kind. Just for today, I'm going to take inspired action. And it kind of takes that weight off your shoulders of that, like that overwhelm that you have to have it all figured out. And I really like that. Thank you for the reminder, which kind of also ties into my next question of one day at a time. Is that also the correct way to look at eating and nutrition and health?
Absolutely. When I work with my clients, one of the things they always say is, take it one day at a time, but also take it one meal at a time, one bite at a time, because everything and everyone and every day is different. I think that's why, diets don't work, especially long term, because they put us in this box, this expectation that, we're going to eat the same today as we are going to eat the same 5 years from now. And I know personally, I eat very different than I even did 6 months ago or a year ago or 2 years ago. So taking it one day at a time is really important because it also gives us space for rest and rejuvenation. And it's like, okay, like I can really show up for this day and know that I'll have a moment of relief and restoration, and then the next day I get to recommit. And I personally find that to be very, very freeing.
I love that. Tell me this. Why did you choose this path? Why is emotional eating so important to you?
I have to say that sometimes I feel like I didn't choose this, definitely not from a conscious place. I really feel like my work and even my personal journey with my own emotional eating chose me. And I just happened to say yes. I just happened to say, all right, yeah, I'm in, let's do it. I started emotionally eating when I was 6 years old, and for 20 something years of my life, didn't even really know what I was doing was emotional eating. I was eating healthy, I was working out, and just never really felt at peace with food. I always had this like really love-hate, torturous relationship with food. So when I healed, now it's been 5 years since I last emotionally ate. And as I was going through my healing journey, I just really felt like this is my calling. I know that I'm going through all this difficulty and challenge with food for a reason. And one of the reasons why I created Escape from Emotional Eating, because I really looked around and couldn't find support that was right for me. I felt like I either had to try to tackle my emotional eating through weight loss, food, and fitness and nutrition, which is something I tried to do for many, many years. I went back to school for nutrition. I became a full-time fitness instructor. And even doing all of that, I just really felt still so chaotic and out of control with food. And then I felt like my only other option was Overeaters Anonymous, which really didn't resonate with me. So then I was like, what are my other options? At that point, I had already spent like 10 years in therapy. It wasn't touching my relationship with food. And I just knew, like in my heart and my core, that, I was meant to create something in this space, and that this is really a calling. And I believe deep down to that core of my being that healing my relationship with food was the best thing that ever happened to me, still to this day, because it really is about our relationship with ourselves. And we take ourselves everywhere we go. So what a gift, that I can develop a relationship with myself that is loving, is nurturing, is comforting, is safe, and, where I get to live my life based in that rather than a constant feeling of never being enough.
Wow. So, 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 so powerful. So you pretty much took a life challenge and looked at it as an opportunity for healing, as an opportunity for embodying your life purpose and your truth and your calling. And I think that is so powerful because oftentimes when we go through life challenges, we victimize ourselves. We like get into victim of consciousness, right? And instead of just asking ourselves, why me? How can I use this to help others, to share, to serve? So that's amazing. I mean, I applaud you for taking the much more courageous path, and I love it. I love it.
Thank you.
So, with the challenges that you went through and the program that you created out of your own pain points, you have found 4 roots of emotional eating. Can you tell
Mhm.
us what they are and how do you work with them? A little bit more about them, please.
So the 4 roots came out of over a decade of my personal research and my background in the psychology of eating. And I have journals upon journals and just tracking and evidence and experiences that I was looking at over the years. And I started to notice patterns. I started to notice patterns in what would lead me to an emotional eating experience and what would keep me trapped in an emotional eating experience. And when I was towards the tail end of that research, I was also working with clients more in a general health coaching space. And at the time, I was noticing that the same patterns that I was aware of and highlighting in my research not only were showing up for me, but were showing up for my clients at the time. And that's when I really sat down and honed in on what is now the 4 roots of emotional eating. So, what this gives us the ability to do is essentially take any emotional eating experience and drill it down to the root, the core issue of what is going on. And when we have clarity around that core issue, then we also have clarity on how to heal it. And it actually expedites the healing process. I introduced the 4 roots to my clients a few years ago. And since then, many of them have made leaps and strides in their relationship with food. Now having, many of them are celebrating over 2 years being free from emotional eating. And I joined them in that with my own freedom for the last 5 years. So what gets me excited about the four roots is, when I was emotionally eating, I just kept being in this space of like, why? Why is this happening? Why does this keep happening? With the background that I have in nutrition, I know what I should be eating. I know what I should be doing. Like, why does this keep happening? And now I have the answer to that question, and it is the four roots of emotional eating. And I've created a free video that is available to everyone on my website. So I invite everyone to go over to escapefromemotionaleating.com and watch that free video, which describes what the four roots of emotional eating are and the next steps to how to work with them. Because the truth is that what you're eating and how you're exercising is just the surface. It's just the surface of our relationship with food. And there's so much more that goes on in our relationship with food: the mental, the emotional, the spiritual, our past programming, our beliefs. So I highly recommend going over to escapefromemotionaleating.com, watching that short video, which will explain in depth what they are and how to start working with them. But the thing that I'll share about the four roots is a lot of people think that, the four roots are something silly like eat less sugar or, drink more water, or that they're tired, or like that those are the triggers of emotional eating. And they're actually not. The triggers of true emotional eating are so much deeper than that. And one example of one of the roots is fear. Anytime we are in stress, anxiety, overwhelm, we can drill those stress eating experiences down and recognize what's really going on is that we are in a state of fear. And from that place, we can heal it.
Wow. As you were saying fear, I just thought of like, when you're watching a movie and someone goes through a breakup and the first thing they do is they get a tub of ice cream and a bunch of chocolate and they go to bed and they like eat their emotions. And I think like watching these scenes in movies and series kind of normalizes emotional eating in a way, right? So like
Yeah.
when you do go through a traumatic experience or any experience, the first thing that you look for comfort is food because of what we've been modeled to see. I just feel
Mm-hmm.
like that leaves an imprint in our mind, no?
Absolutely. Not only is it modeled on a cultural perspective, but it's also modeled within our families. And I'm Italian. I grew up in an Italian family, and my parents definitely have modeled emotional eating behavior all through my life, to where I was upset. Here, have a cookie. Oh, like you went through a difficult time. Here, have something to eat. Oh, you're feeling tired. Oh, you're probably just hungry. Let's get you a snack or something. And then, sort of like zooming out, there's this whole industry of food marketing. So there are people marketing food, and the way that they will market food is to our emotions. So I've definitely like seen greeting cards, t-shirts, billboards that are basically promoting emotional eating. Also, these food marketing companies and food companies can increase their sales. But in truth, it's really harming us physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And the big part is because when we emotionally eat, we are not truly addressing our emotional needs. Like, emotional eating is just putting a band-aid on a deeper wound. We're not actually fulfilling our emotional body. So we go emotionally starved, and then we will seek these things like food or shopping or social media or, workaholism or whatever to fill this emptiness that we feel inside, when anything from the outside cannot fill the holes that we feel within ourselves. We have to do the work to fill them in a truer way.
Wow. I feel like it's like a quick fix, right? Food is such a quick fix. When you're sad, just have a cookie and
Hmm.
suddenly, you feel kind of better because of, I guess, the sugar inside of it. But it's like a quick high and then you crash and then you're back to square
Hmm.
one. So I definitely agree with you. And I think also, like, for me, coming from a Middle Eastern family, it's pretty much the same. Everything revolves around food. And of course, we have so many issues now with this generation and with the younger generation around emotional eating. You talked about something that is really interesting on your website. You said that emotional eating prevents this woman from reaching her higher self. It interferes with her intuition, with her creativity. Can you dive a little bit more into that and how does that happen?
Yeah. So when I was emotionally eating and when I was in the emotional eating cycle, I did not feel like my best self. I sort of felt like something has taken over my body because I know I shouldn't be eating this, but I can't stop. Like I can't. And in that place I was always thinking about food. I was always sort of planning for when I was going to eat, what I was going to eat next. It took up so much of my time, my energy, my brain space. There was so much of me attached to food that it just robbed me of literally years of my life because it took so much of my time, my energy, and literally just robbed it from me, to where now, like, compared to it, food is fuel to me. It's a nourishing asset. I eat when I'm hungry, I stop when I'm full, and I move on. I think about food a fraction of what I used to back in the day because I know deep within myself that when I am obsessing about food, or in that place where it's all consuming, I cannot be of highest service. I'm not available. I'm not fully present. Back when I was emotionally eating, I would like be in conversations with people, like physically, like I would be having a face to face conversation. But in my head, I would actually really be thinking about food. And now, like, I would never show up in a conversation where in the back of my head, I'm thinking about something else. Being fully present is really important to me. I truly believe that's where miracles happen. That's where our intuition lives, when we're in the present moment. So everything about emotional eating just robs us. It robs us of our power. It robs us of our voice. It completely silences us. It numbs us. We're not able to really feel. And especially because the women that I work with are high performers, they're high achievers. They are women on a mission. And what I've seen is that through our work together and healing emotional eating, they can channel the energy that was once consumed in the emotional eating cycle towards their mission or passion, whatever it is. So, for example, one of my clients is a surgeon, top doctor in her field, a lot on her plate. And she came to me saying, Jessica, I eat when I'm frustrated, and I'm frustrated when I eat. And through our work together, we worked with her 4 roots of emotional eating, healed them. And she is one of my clients who has been free for over 2 years now. And she said to me a few months ago, she said, I started this organization as a side passion of hers that supports ER doctors in identifying victims of sex trafficking. So she just started this, she does her regular job, but this is sort of like on the side. And she said to me, I would have never been able to start this organization if it weren't for our work together. She's like, I wouldn't have had the time. I wouldn't have had the energy. I wouldn't even wanted to. But she was like, because of our work together, I've been able to have the time, the energy, and feel the passion for something like this and helping others. And that is a perfect example of what is available to each and every one of us when we truly do heal our relationship with food.
Wow, so profound. So like all the energy and all the attention, I guess like what you focus on expands, right? So if you're always focused
Yeah,
on, food and your emotions related to food, then that's all your mind is going to be, I guess, cultivating. Whereas if you're no
hmm,
longer worrying about that, then you have more energy and more mental capacity to focus on other things. I really, really, really
exactly.
like that. Okay, so you said that the right relationship with food is like looking at it as fuel, as something to nourish your body and nothing more. So eating when you're hungry and stopping when you're full. If
Mhm.
you could give advice to your younger self and to all the other listeners who are suffering right now from emotional eating, what would be the biggest aha insight advice that you could give?
Oh gosh, there's so many because I feel like our relationship with food and especially emotional eating, it just feels like this tangled ball, a mess. So let me take a moment and really, really connect in and just intuitively respond. I think I would really acknowledge how I felt in that moment and this knowing that my relationship with food at the time was chaotic, it was compulsive, it was obsessive. I would acknowledge my younger self and say, "You're right. This is not normal. This is not healthy." And I share that because there's so much noise out there these days when it comes to food. I mean, I know people who are saying emotional eating isn't bad, emotional eating is okay. And to some people, when they hear that, it gives them permission to continue to live an unhealthy relationship with food. It it just allows their compulsions to persist. It would be basically like saying to an alcoholic, it's okay if you have a beer. It's okay to have a glass of wine from time to time. And back in the day, I tried to talk to people about my relationship with food, and I often got the response of, everyone does that. Oh, come on, like, get over it. Everyone overeats. Let's go work out. And I wish someone had just validated, you know, that that sounds really difficult. And, have you looked into support? Have you done anything about it? Or even had said, like, that does sound really difficult. And whatever you choose to do about it, I'll be here with you every step of the way. Because I even went through periods where I thought I would lose my friends over this because we used to go out to dinner all the time and we used to make dinner together. And I was scared that if I was really in integrity with myself and how I was eating, that I wouldn't be able to participate in those things anymore, which is so not true. And these people are very much still my friends. But I I just really wish someone would have like taken me by the hand and been like, you know, you don't feel at peace and we need to find a way for you to feel at peace. Not through avoidance, not through denial, but really, yeah, this isn't normal. This isn't healthy. Food is meant to be food and to learn a different way to comfort, to soothe, to manage our fears and overwhelm. So I would say to my younger self, you're right. This isn't normal and we need to do something about it.
Wow. Wow. I love that. I'm so glad that we did this recording again because this last part, it was just so valuable. And you're absolutely right. Like emotional eating has people dismiss it, right? They dismiss it as it's not that big of a deal. But for someone who is an emotional eater, like as you were speaking, I have always been an emotional eater. Like I completely felt every single word. Like if I was a kid and someone would have just said that, there are other ways to deal with your emotions. You don't need to like stuff your face to prevent yourself from feeling this sadness or feeling this fear or any other feeling, even joy, right? Sometimes when we're so happy, we're like, let's
Right.
throw a celebration and like again eat all our feelings. I think
Right.
it would have made such a big difference, not only in our relationship with food, but ultimately in our relationship with ourselves, right? We would have more tools in our toolbox to deal with life and to go through life
Yeah.
than just, let's say, food, right? You'd have so many other
Yeah.
tools. So thank you so much, Jessica, for sharing that. And I will definitely advise everyone listening to please go check out the website so that you can hear and learn about the 4 roots, so that you can bring awareness. I think awareness heals. So once we bring awareness into anything, it's a portal to healing. And so thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. Speak soon. Thank you for joining us this week on Minutes on Growth. If you enjoyed today's episode, then make sure you never miss a show by clicking the subscribe button now.